The City of Toronto has a Disability Issues Committee. How do you see the role and significance of this body, and how can it be strengthened to become more proactive and instrumental in the city's bylaw making process?
Well, thanks Steve, the people that sit on the committee should be put on that committee by the private citizens, not by politicians. And how we have it down there, it is totally wrong. To get on an agency board or commission, you go through a nominating committee or a civic appointments committee. And it's a mess. Oh, if you donated to my campaign, then you're probably getting on the committee. It goes on and on and on. We need an independent body with people that have experience with people with disabilities. And it should not be put on by councillors. And that's how it works down there. And there's a lot of skullduggery going on, and it's very, very frustrating day in and day out when you see these people appointed that have zero experience, but since they donated to so-and-so's campaign, then they're on. And it's outrageous when we see stuff like that. Thank you.
Sarah Thomson.
The symbol of my campaign isn't a button, but it's a key. And the idea is that we open the doors of the City Hall and let the people back in to make the decisions. Rather than the bureaucrats and the politicians, we have to let the people back in, the people with the knowledge and the know-how to build a better city. We must change the way in which decisions are made at City Hall and allow more input, not only on policy, but on how to implement it from the communities, businesses, and organizations involved. My administration will not just talk about policy, but work with those involved to come up with real and effective ways to implement this policy. I look forward to working with your group and becoming mayor of one of the greatest cities in the world.
Rocco Rossi.
Well,
excuse me, did I do it again?
Yeah.
I did it again. George Smitherman, your turn. We're going in inverse alphabetical order. Sarah Thomson, then George Smitherman. My mistake.
Well, first and foremost, I've been around long enough to know that the word committee is a word that very often is a label that you put on a group that's been shunted aside to make people feel good like something's happening even when nothing is. And if that's what this committee is all about, then let's blow it up, maybe in the form that Councillor Mammoliti spoke about. What would I do to strengthen it and make it real? Two things I can think of for sure. Firstly, as a mayor, I'll commit to come to at least 2 of those meetings a year. But more importantly than that, if you really want something to happen, you have to assign a senior staff person and make it part of their compensation agreement to show progress on these issues. Example, if accessibility is a big focus of such a committee, as presumably it is, then attach the person, the planner, who's responsible for the built form of the city, and the transportation people maybe as well, to actually make sure that something occurs. It seems to me that if you want something to happen, you've got to put people on the hook for it in a meaningful way. And I think that we should be very, very cautious about creating any more committees that just give lip service to issues.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm interested in
Smitherman.
action.
Rocco Rossi.
Every organization I've ever run, whether in the private sector or in the not-for-profit sector, leadership and priorities starts from the top. And if the leader does not have an issue as a priority, I don't care what the committee looks like, it won't get the time necessary, it won't get the resources necessary, it won't get the prioritization necessary to get things done. I like Councillor Mammoliti's notion of a standing committee, and I think as a mayor that puts accessibility at the top of the agenda with a standing committee on disability, that we can actually get some action happening. 2003 ended up being an election about stopping a bridge. 2010 needs to be an election about building bridges.
Joe Pantalone.
Well, the Disability Issues Committee is composed of excellent people, who are working very hard and making sure that issues are alive. I don't think we should blow it up, frankly. That's not what you do with people who want to help out and want to help out. However, I'd be interested in hearing from the committee how we can make it more proactive and more relevant in the private sector as well as the public sector. And as Mayor Joe Pantalone, I will meet with the committee, once, twice, 3 times a year as required, in order to make sure that we figure out how we can do that job better. Knowing that Torontonians are caring people, but we are trying to do the best. I know the Centre for Addiction Mental Health has been in my area, and I've been pleased to shepherd it through City Council and the community without any significant issues, because needless would have occurred there and did not. It's an example of how we can do better at City Hall.
Okay, Giorgio Mammoliti, you get the last opportunity to answer question 6.
Stephen, at the risk of sounding a little cocky, it's nice to hear the two other candidates are actually agreeing with my concept, both in housing and with respect to this particular issue of committees. It's because of leadership. It's because I've been there for 20 years and I know what needs to be done. And it can work. The standing committee can work. There's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't venture into this kind of concept. What's there now is a way to appease the community. 4 times a year they meet. 4 times a year. Provincially, they talk about changes that all municipalities have to make. But yet, how can you make substantial changes at City Hall when you only meet 4 times a year, and the people who sit on those committees are those that are disabled? God, we have got to make sure that everybody understands the issues, not just those in the
Thank you very much, Mr. Mammoliti.